I do not know about anyone else, but I cannot believe we are already a few weeks into 2024. Absolutely blows my mind. I really wanted to put some thought into my 2024 TBR and then also just my 2024 reading goals in general because I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do this year. Let me know in the comments what your reading goals are for 2024. Maybe you've got a number of books in mind that you'd like to read. Maybe you actually have a goal number-wise that you'd like to get to. Maybe you just want to go with the flow and just read when you feel like it. But whatever you do or whatever you're planning to do for this year, let me know because I'm curious. I always like to try different things and different goals. So first off, I like to set like a numbers goal. So the past few years, I've been just setting 52 books as my yearly goal. And I'm going to do that again this year because it's a very comfortable number for me. I don't like to stress and feel like I have to be reading all of the time. But I feel like for me personally, one book a week is very doable. It's nice to have a little goal to meet, and it's also really nice if I crush it too. If I don't meet the numbers goal, it's not a big deal to me. It's nice to kind of have that little ballpark of where I'd like to be at the end of the year. And then I thought about doing like a 24 books I'd like to read in 2024, and I thought that is way too many books to put on a single TBR, and I am not good at sticking to TBRs at all. In fact, I'm very much so a mood reader, so I figured that was way too many books. So I was really just going to choose a couple and kind of just talk about them. But then I pulled out books that I'm really looking forward to reading hopefully this year, and I realized I actually have a pile of 30. But it's fine. They're series, some of them are series, and I honestly think I'm going to read most of these this year. So first up, one series that I really want to get to this year because I haven't read any of it yet and it is so popular and so well loved, and I just recently got the last book. Yes, I bought all of the books before I even read the first one. That is the Heartstopper series by Alice Osman. I am so looking forward to reading these. I just recently got the 5th one and I cannot wait. I'm hoping to maybe read them around Valentine's Day just because they seem like a cutesy little romance graphic novel series. And then on the topic of graphic novel series, I also would love to get to the Lore Olympus series finally. I have 5 books for that as well. I'm pretty sure there's more coming out in the future, but yeah, Lore Olympus by Rachel Smith. I've heard really good things about these, and apparently if you're a big fan of Greek mythology, then this is like the perfect graphic novel series. And then the next book on my 2024 TBR, I already know I'm going to read because I reread it every single year, hopefully in February, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This year I'm going to be reading this beautiful edition that's illustrated by Bill Donovan. I just bought this one last year and it is absolutely gorgeous. There are beautiful illustrations all throughout the book, and I cannot wait to read this edition of Pride and Prejudice. Okay, next on my 2024 TBR is the biggest chunk of books on my TBR, and that is the continuation of let me set this down. That is the continuation of the Shadowhunters series. So last year I told myself I really wanted to reread a lot of Cassandra Clare's older Shadowhunter books just so I could start reading the new ones because I kind of forgot what happened. It's been over a decade since I've read most of them, so I needed a bit of a refresher. I'm so glad I did that. I love those characters and that world so much. So this year I've only got 9 books left and then I'm all caught up. That's all she's got so far. Yeah, that doesn't seem too crazy to me. I read way more than that of the Shadowhunters last year, so this is very doable, but I'll just quickly go through them. So Shadowhunters and Downworlders, then the Shadowhunters Codex, Ghosts of the Shadow Market, Chain of Gold, Chain of Iron, and Chain of Thorns. And I actually own 2 copies of Chain of Thorns because I originally pre-ordered it and then I bought another edition that is like signed by Cassie Clare. And then Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, and Queen of Air and Darkness. Obviously that's not the reading order, but it's just the order I had it stacked in. I'm gonna get the reading order sorted out before I dive into those ones. Then I try to read like probably 1 Stephen King book a year, and this year I'm really looking forward to reading Misery by Stephen King. It's one of his older ones, so I can't wait to sink my teeth into this one. And then I also need to read book 2 or the book 2 bind up of the Monstrous comics. I was not the biggest fan of the first book, but I bought these and they were both like, I almost just hit myself in the head with that, close to $70, so I'm definitely going to read it and maybe hopefully I'll like it a little bit more. I will be honest with you, I bought this solely because that cat on the front, it looks like my cat Pippin with powers. That's what sold me on these books, but I need to read this year so I don't forget what is happening. Okay, then I am also hoping to sink my teeth in The Girl from the Other Side. I bought these beautiful deluxe editions of this manga, and I haven't read a single page out of any of them, so this is definitely also a priority for me, and I've heard such good things about this. And I'm also hoping to read this poetry collection by Sappho. It's very small. This is the only collection of poetry I have on this TBR. I love to read poetry alongside novels just to give myself a little bit of a break from reading novels sometimes, and this one is one that I'd really love to get to this year. I've never read anything by Sappho. Then I'd like to finally read Circe by Madeline Miller. I too am a huge Song of Achilles fan, and I've heard that this one is just as good. And then last on my 2024 TBR, but definitely not least, this one and Pride and Prejudice are tied for my all-time favorite books, and that is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I did not read this last year. Last year I read The Hobbit, but I'd love to reread The Lord of the Rings again. I'm not sure which edition I'd like to read. This is just one of the many gorgeous editions that I have, but I also recently got the Andy Serkis narrated editions on Audible, and so I kind of want to listen to those. I definitely need to put this on my TBR, and I cannot wait to reread The Lord of the Rings. Okay, so that is it for the books that I'm hopefully going to get to this year. Oh, actually I forgot a book, and that is Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer. I was waiting on Libby for months. I think honestly I've been on the hold list for 6 months for this book, and I finally today actually just got it, so I am definitely going to be listening to that in the next week, so I can guarantee I will read that in 2024. Okay, I guess maybe not guaranteed, that 99% chance that I'm going to read it in 2024 and in the next couple of weeks. That is the last book. I completely forgot about it. But anyways, now we are at the end of the books that I will hopefully read, but I also have a couple more reading goals for this year I'd like to hopefully implement and meet. So another one is to use the library a lot more often instead of buying books that I'm only going to read once. I feel like using the library, especially since Libby exists, is just way too easy, and I definitely want to start doing that a little bit more and save my money, especially for books that I'm not even sure if I'm going to like. And then also with Libby, I'd like to read more, or rather listen to more audiobooks. I just listened to an audiobook for the first time ever last year in 2023, and I found out I really love it, especially ones that are narrated by the author. It's just such a good time, and I would love to listen to more audiobooks this year. And then that goes along perfectly with my next reading goal, which is to kind of just go with the flow and also still focus on my other hobbies and spend time doing them as well, and not feel guilty about not constantly reading. I love doing other things as well. I'm a big movie watcher. I love gaming and doing puzzles, which I think those two are really perfect for listening to audiobooks as well. But then I also like to work out and weightlift and kayak and hike and stuff like that, and I don't like listening to audiobooks while I exercise. I just find it doesn't energize me at all. It does kind of the opposite. I just want to sit on my couch and listen to it. I don't feel like working out or moving while I'm listening to it. So those are some things that I definitely don't want to neglect this year. I definitely want to make sure that I'm still enjoying my other hobbies and not feeling guilty for not constantly reading during my free time. I also work full time, so I can't just read from sunup till sundown. I wish I could, but I can't. I kind of have to be more realistic with my reading goals and not be as hard on myself for not reading every single day. And then my last reading goal for 2024 is to donate books I'm never going to read again. I am such a hoarder when it comes to books, and sometimes I read a book and I know I'm never going to read it again. If you don't love it, don't keep it. Message to myself. But really though, I have a really bad problem with buying books and keeping them, or buying way too many books and not even being able to read them. So I really need to not cut back on buying, because book buying bans don't work for me. It just makes me want to buy books more, honestly. But I definitely need to focus more on donating books that I'm done with and that other people could definitely get a lot more out of than I can. Okay, so that is it for my 2024 TBR and reading goals. I feel like they're kind of realistic. I feel like maybe the amount of books that I have on my TBR, it might not be realistic, but we will see. Maybe at the end of the year, I'll kind of look back and see how I did, how many goals I actually meet. We'll see. You never know what the year is gonna hold, so I can think I'm gonna do all these things and then like fail at all of it tomorrow. I have no idea. I will hopefully see you guys soon in another reading vlog or something, I don't know. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and happy reading.